Okay, welcome back. I had forgotten to inflate the control. That's why it blew up last time. So on line 66, I finally inflated it. So let's go see what this thing looks like. I'm going to hit the run button, bring me up here. And so if I hit show, it's going to tell me that I selected red. That part is pretty straightforward. So what have you learned so far? If I'm using the deferred model, all I have to do is build an array, either in code, which we're not going to demo, or using the strings XML file, and then just check to see what it is that got selected. No big deal. Now, the other technique of having to do the immediate model, is what I call it, is where you go in and as soon as you click something, some event fires. That has got an awful lot of moving parts. I mean, it is kind of sort of complex. So basically, there's a spinner, a thing called a spinner adapter, and then a thing called an the on item select listener, which you have a choice between whether you use, if you want to do the anonymous class version or if you want to do the, interface version. So populating the thing, that's pretty straightforward. We talked about that. And then here's what we have to do is we have to create a thing called an array adapter. And this thing is a little kind of funky. And so I'm just going to type it all in and we'll kind of sort of figure it out as we go. So instead of typing all that stuff, I'm just going to do a cut and paste operation here. So I got a cat in the way here. So let's just explain what all this stuff is. I need a thing called an array adapter. All right. And so the array adapter has lots of things to it. It has create from resource, and I have to give it a context. In this case, it's just the current thing. Then I have to give it the name of the array that's in the XML file. And then this is a layout kind of a thing where I'm trying to tell what type of spinner this thing is. There's different ways it can show up. It can have one that, automatically adds new items to it, or you can have one where you can add a blank at the top where you could type, and do you want it to expand automatically or do you want it to collapse, and all sorts of other options. And then I tell it set drop down view resource, so which looks kind of sort of similar, but it's not. It's yet another descriptive of how this spinner drop down item thing is supposed to look. And then lastly, I tell my spinner that I want to use this dang adapter. So that's basically the three parts to this. Building an array adapter, telling the array adapter how it's supposed to look, and then telling the control that yes, I do want to use this array adapter. So now we need to do a set on selected items listener. Okay, so for no particular reason, I'm going to use the interface technique. Okay, not that it really matters. So sp colors dot set on selected listener, on selected item listener, and I'm going to use this. Okay, now it's going to complain because I haven't implemented the interface, but look, okay, fine, let's go do that here. You guys remember how this thing works. So up at my class level, I want to do an implement. Remember that? Implements. And so in this particular case, what I want to be able to implement is an adapter view dot on, and it's on selected item on item selected listener. Yeah, on item selected listener. Shoo. Okay, now it's going to complain because, wait a minute now, you're supposed to be implementing something and doggone it, this thing, whoa. I didn't mean to put a semicolon there, my apologies. Anyway, still going to complain because it's going to say, but you haven't implemented all this stuff. So I'm going to say, fine, go ahead and do that for me. Boink. And it says, do you want to do these two things? Whatever they are, fine, dandy with me. So now I've got this. Now, this is a funky one. This on nothing selected. Now, I'm not actually going to use that. Now, can I make it go away? No, because I'm implementing an interface and the interface demands that I implement this thing. Can I just ignore it? Yeah, I can ignore it. Okay. So now I'm down here and I've got, okay, cool. I know what's going to happen. And so now I just want to go in and do this thing. So now that I have an on selected thing, I want to pick out what color I got, right? So something like, I don't know, string, color. And so now I need to go in here and basically find out what happened. So I could do a switch statement, which is probably pretty normal. A switch statement that basically says, oh, sorry. Oh, hang on a second. That is not, yeah. The selected color is equal to the parent of this guy, get item at position, get item. So do I want to get the item or do I want to get the actual ID? I'm going to say I want to go ahead and get the item at a position because the position got provided to me. And then I want to go ahead and just do toString. Whew. Okay. And then now I can do a switch on this guy to see whatever it is I want, Switch, whatever, case, red, right? Do something. Okay, now I know that was an awful lot of moving parts. Okay. Build a spinner, populate it in the strings, and then build an adapter with all these goofy things you have to put in. And then you tell it, okay, now I want to use that adapter, and then I implement an interface which creates these two guys, and then I go through and do all this stuff. And I know it's an awful lot of stuff to do to be able to get to, hey, what color did you dang select? But this is how it's done. Okay, now, one more time. So we've described 3 different techniques for doing event handling. The crude one, which is use the on-click inside the designer. That works for things like buttons, because the button typically has a click event. Well, these guys don't necessarily have click events. They have things like select item. So we have 2 choices. You can use the interface like we just did, or you can use the anonymous source like we did the previous time when we were talking about the radio buttons. Okay, the spinner does have an awful lot of moving parts. But yeah, it's a pretty doggone good control, and I use it a lot because it prevents all sorts of input validation issues for me. Particularly if I'm trying to match up. If behind the scenes I'm using an enumeration, and I want you to type in like whether or not you're a senior or a junior, right? And I have an enumeration over here that I want it to exactly match. Man, I do not want to have the user type in sophomore, because I bet they don't know how to spell sophomore. Okay, so yeah, I use spinners a lot, even though they're kind of a pain in the butt. Okay, we have finally reached the end of this very long chapter. And I'll see you guys again in some future chapter.